Before we begin, please check out the amazing voice actor Nick Cortez who voices Darth Plagueis, Sidious, and Count Dooku in this video. His link will be in the description. It is the night before the election of the new Supreme Chancellor of the Republic to replace the weak Chancellor Valorum. The three candidates are Ainley Team, Bail Antilles, and Sheev Palpatine. They were all waiting in eager anticipation to see which one of them would control the galaxy. However, Organa and Team were ignorant to the plans of the Sith and did not know that their defeat was predetermined. Most of the Senate was present at the opera the night before in excitement at the change of power. Hugo Damask, also known as Darth Plagueis, sits next to Palpatine, also known as Darth Sidious, as they watch together drinking expensive wine. They plan to reveal Plagueis' presence to the galaxy in Palpatine's acceptance speech the next day and eventually give him the role of co-chancellor, and together they will lead. In Plagueis' mind, the rule of two is no more. He doesn't see the need for pointless infighting between master and apprentice and plans for the two of them to be the end of the Sith lineage. With the power over life and death, they will prolong their lives and rule together. This was set in stone in Plagueis' mind. However, Sidious had other ideas. After the opera finishes, they head to Plagueis' penthouse and begin pouring more wine.
A toast,
says Sidious,
to the decades of brilliant planning and execution on your part, my master.
Tomorrow we shall impart a new meaning to the rule of two,
responds Plagueis.
Only you could have brought this to fruition, Plagueis. I will live up to your expectations and fulfill my destiny.
With my guidance, you will soon be placed in a position to initiate the final act of our grand plan.
The two discuss Sidious' speech tomorrow and continue to indulge in expensive liquor. They continue drinking and drinking until Plagueis drops his wine glass and drops his head onto the table, asleep. Sidious stares upon his master, holding his gaze for longer than normal. He sighs and puts his glass down and stands up to head for the exit. Before he leaves, he turns around to take one more look around the room and reaches out with the Force. The dark side whispers to him, "Your election assured. The sun guards absent, Plagueis unsuspecting and asleep." Sidious moves in a blur, not wasting any time. He points his bony fingers towards Plagueis and cracks vicious force lightning towards his master, who jerks up, wide awake and in stiff pain. This disables Plagueis' breathing device, and he begins gasping for air. He stands up and stares deeply at Sidious, gathering the force within him like a storm, and openly challenges his apprentice. Plagueis was confident that he couldn't be killed, and knew his years of experiments would be tested right here and now.
Darth Plagueis the Wise. I truly thank you for all your teachings. I admit I could not have succeeded without you, but you've become no more than a pawn in my game. How often do you say the old order of Bane ended with your master's death? An apprentice no longer needed to be stronger. You told me, merely more clever. The era of keeping score, suspicion and betrayal was over. Strength is not in the flesh, but in the Force. You lost the game the day you chose me to rule by your side. A tragedy, really?
Sidious continues to throw lightning towards his master, reaching deeper into the dark side than he ever has before. He can sense his master slowly dying, his midichlorians reaching out to him for guidance. However, Sidious senses something has switched. Plagueis begins gathering his midichlorians, commanding them, and they obey. He commands every single one of them to lend him their power, and deepens his connection to the Force. Plagueis catches Sidious' lightning with his right hand. Plagueis, on the brink of death, right at death's door, managed to pull himself back to full strength by controlling his midichlorians. Sidious steps back stunned. He thought his master was egotistical in thinking he had control over life and death, but it turns out he wasn't. He really can control death.
Now who is the fool, Sheev? Foolish to think you are more powerful than me. Foolish to think you could rule by yourself. Foolish to think you didn't need me. However, I am wise to have never shown you the true nature of the dark side. I fed your ambition to satiate your desire for power. I gave you the means for everything you ever wanted, and a throne at my side. Yet you betrayed me. It pains me that this shall happen before the horns of victory is called. I hoped we could have explored the secrets of the galaxy together, but that is no longer possible. For now, you will die.
Sidious releases his lightning and ignites his crimson lightsaber. Plagueis uses the Force to gather his staff and extracts his crimson blade. The two duel ferociously, Plagueis constantly having the upper hand and using all of his power, which begins to overwhelm Sidious, who struggles to contain his shock. The battle is glorious. The skills shown would be admirable to anyone watching. Sidious catches Plagueis with his lightning, his signature move, and sends him flying across the room. He spins in towards him and unleashes a dark side scream towards his master, and the duel continues. Sidious again sends lightning towards Plagueis, who easily catches it this time to overwhelm it and send it right back towards Sidious, sending him flying back. Lightning was Sidious's signature move, and Plagueis easily disposed of it. How could his master hide this power? The duel is now heavily in favor of Plagueis, and the end seems near for Sidious, who knows this.
Master, forgive me. This was a mistake. Please. I swear I will serve you, and you alone. Now I know I have much to learn.
Keep your forked tongue behind your teeth, Sidious. Death is the only escape for you.
Plagueis ends the duel swiftly. He catches Sidious's strike with his free hand and impales his chest with his lightsaber, killing Darth Sidious. Plagueis looks upon his failed apprentice and truly did not want to kill him, but he had no choice. Plagueis wished for the era of Bane to end with them, but it seemed this notion was foolish. From here on, he would only rely and believe in himself. He might take apprentices, but there would be no more than tools to dispose of at his will. He will rule by himself. Sidious's betrayal allowed Plagueis to test whether he could manipulate his midichlorians to save himself on the brink of death. Now that he knows he's successful and close to immortality, the only thing left is the grand plan. Hundreds of years of the Sith manipulating galactic affairs and corporations to advance the Sith agenda and Galactic Republic fall would come to fruition. The news of Senator Palpatine's death shocked the galaxy. The death of the Supreme Chancellor candidate the night before the election didn't sit right with a lot of people. Ainley Team, one of the other candidates for the chancellorship, was burdened with suspicion of corruption, so was theorized by many to be the perpetrator of Palpatine's death in order to steal his votes. No one believed that Bail Antilles would do such a thing, so he received a majority of the vote and became Supreme Chancellor. In his acceptance speech, he talked of ridding the galaxy of corruption and bringing order to the Republic that it hadn't seen in 1,000 years. Plagueis snickered at this speech. The foolish Chancellor didn't know what was coming. News of Qui-Gon's death by Darth Maul surprised many, but what was more surprising was Maul's death at the hands of a lesser Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. This was a slight inconvenience for Plagueis. In a matter of hours, the Sith lost two valuable assets. Now, he is the sole Sith in the galaxy. He was planning to introduce himself to Maul as Sidious's master and be honest with him about his death to bring him to his side. But I guess that isn't possible now. Plagueis ties up all loose ends regarding Sidious's dealings and takes them over for himself. However, there was one specific dealing he did not know about. Plagueis first met Dooku in 52 BBY on Sereno and felt he could recruit Dooku as an insurance possibility in case he lost Sidious. It seems he was right to do so. Plagueis attended Sheev Palpatine's funeral a week later. His cause of death was revealed as assassination to the public. The funeral was fairly public, but then moved to a more private session afterwards. Plagueis stood with his hood up towards the back of the room, thinking about the future until a surprising figure stood next to him.
You two were acquaintances, were you not?
Said Count Dooku.
Indeed we were. Truly a huge loss for the Republic.
That is correct. Palpatine and I had an understanding.
Sidious had never mentioned any dealings with Dooku.
Tell me more.
Urges Plagueis.
I informed Palpatine of my lack of commitment with the Jedi Order. I believed we shared a common interest. We both know the only way to restore order to the Republic and rid of it of any corruption is to rebuild it completely. We had agreed to tackle this task together, but it seems that is not possible now.
Plagueis picks up what Dooku is putting down and sees a real opportunity to manipulate Dooku to his side using Qui-Gon.
I see. How unfortunate what happened to Qui-Gon. I enjoyed meeting you both on Sereno many moons ago. I understand he fell to a lightsaber.
A man from Tatooine, disguised in black.
Does the Council know anything?
None, not even his name, but they know there must be another.
How could they?
There were only whispers at the Jedi Temple that the Sith had vanished 1,000 years ago, but in secret they forged the rule of two. A master and an apprentice. No more, no less.
Who killed Qui-Gon? The master or the apprentice?
My instincts tell me it was an apprentice, but something isn't right. The Sith deliberately revealed themselves on Tatooine. It amounts to a declaration of war.
How would one find this Sith?
That is why I am here with you today. I believe Palpatine to be the Sith Master, but his recent death complicates things. I can feel the dark side emanating from his corpse only across the room. But that only means there must be another. You, Hugo Damask, dealing in the shadows, and your recent emergence to the public light proves as much.
Interesting theory. If I was this Sith, how would that change your feelings towards me?
I would hope to understand your motives, to see if they aligned with what I had established with Palpatine. And then, and only then, could the notion of a partnership be discussed.
I see. Let's take this back to where I reside, shall we?
The two head back to Plagueis' penthouse to discuss further. Plagueis decides he will reveal his identity to Dooku, and if he senses any betrayal, he knows he can kill him then if necessary. They sit down at his desk, and Plagueis interlocks his hands.
Quite the detective, Dooku. Yes, my real title is Darth Plagueis, wisest of the Sith. I was once master to Palpatine, formerly known as Darth Sidious.
Dooku couldn't hide the shock from his face after hearing it from Plagueis' mouth.
It was you who murdered Palpatine, and what about the Sith on Tatooine?
Sadly, I had to remove Palpatine. His ambition got the best of him, and he thought he could continue on without me. The Sith on Tatooine, however, Maul was his name, was merely an assassin trained in the arts by Palpatine.
Things begin to click into place for Dooku.
I see. And you would let a pawn achieve such power?
Such power, you say? He could have easily been disposed of if necessary.
Dooku was really amazed at his power.
What is your goal here, Plagueis?
Plagueis begins to tell Dooku everything he wanted to hear. Plagueis' main goals are immortality and the grand plan. He doesn't care about peace and prosperity in the galaxy. He cares about power, but tells Dooku his views aligned with Palpatine, that he wished for the Republic to be rid of corruption, and the only way to do that was strip it down to its fundamentals and rebuild from there. This includes the Senate and the Jedi Order. He tells Dooku that Palpatine's ideals stemmed from his own, which was a lie.
If you were to join me, it would mean turning your back on your order and actively engaging in their genocide. Is this something you can do?
It is my conviction to bring order to the galaxy.
by any means necessary. Very well, my new apprentice. Henceforth you shall be known as Darth Draconian. Yes, my master.
Plagueis tells Dooku about his plans for the galaxy, and they begin implementing them. Plagueis mentions that he's talked to Separatist about the creation of a clone army, and that with a little push from his close friend, he will definitely place the order. Plagueis tells Dooku that the only way to prove his loyalty to him is to do this. Manipulate his close friend Separatist to place the order at Kamino for a clone army for the Republic, and then cover his tracks by murdering him. Dooku complies and does this, showing his loyalty to Plagueis. Dooku removes the location of Kamino from the Jedi archives and announces his leave from the Jedi Order without explanation to the Council. A huge placeholder in Plagueis' plan now is that they have no one in the role of Supreme Chancellor, but now he has a solution. Dooku goes back to his home world of Sereno and claims his title of Count Dooku, but also acts as the senator for the world. Dooku has spent his life as a peacekeeper around politics and knows how to play the game of the Senate. However, now Plagueis will need a new leader for the separatist movement to begin worlds seceding from the Republic. He and Dooku think about who to choose, and Plagueis thinks it's best to have someone they can unequivocally control. Plagueis tells Dooku they will use San Hill, son of Lash Hill, Plagueis' former right-hand man. Plagueis has mentored San Hill to the position of chairman of the International Banking Clan, a significant force of power in the galaxy. Plagueis approaches San Hill and discusses with him the plan for the separatist movement. Plagueis isn't asking San whether he's interested, he's telling him what's going to happen. Together, they form a network later known as the Separatist Council, with influential beings in the galaxy. A few include the Trade Federation, Techno Union, Corporate Alliance, Commerce Guild, and more. San is the leader of the separatist movement, but Plagueis controls it from the shadows. They write up their own constitution and treaties, and begin approaching worlds about leaving the Republic. Count Dooku's entrance into the Senate was a shock for most, however he is performing better than expected. He calls out everyone on their lies and corruption, and openly challenges the current Supreme Chancellor, Bail Organa. Dooku's journey into the Senate will take time, but Plagueis believes he can be Chancellor in 8 years. A more pressing matter for Plagueis is what to do about Anakin Skywalker. He's only laid eyes on the boy once, and was granted a vision of the future from the Force, and is sure the boy will change the course of galactic history. However, he has been formally accepted into the Jedi Order, and is out of reach for now, so there is nothing he can do. He will follow the boy intensely and determine whether there is a chance he will join them. 8 years go by, and the separatist movement is going strong. Many planets have left the Republic and joined the separatists. Bail Organa failed to do anything to stop this, and many fear a looming conflict. His term is up in office, and they must elect a new Supreme Chancellor. Many are nominated, including Ainley Team again, Senators Mon Mothma, Padme Amidala, and Count Dooku. The vote is close, but Count Dooku ultimately wins. Without the Sith backing and Plagueis' manipulations behind the scene, he may not have won. In Dooku's acceptance speech, he doesn't make false promises of ridding the galaxy of corruption, but to tackle the separatist crisis directly, and that if it comes to it, he will reverse the Demilitarization Act. This confounded many's fear of war. He ultimately announced that Hugo Damask, head of Damask Holdings, and in secret, Darth Plagueis would become his co-chancellor. The Sith are now in control of the Republic. 2 more years go by, and Plagueis deems that the time has come. Enough systems have joined the separatists, and the dark side is at its most powerful. Plagueis commands Dooku to make sure the Jedi find out about the clone army. He hires Jango Fett to assassinate Senator Amidala, but Jango is found and tracked back to Kamino by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who discovers and reports the clone army to the Council. He and Jango fight, and Obi-Wan tracks him to Geonosis, where the Separatist Council is held. Kenobi discovers the production of a droid army. He is captured and sentenced to death. However, Padme Amidala and Anakin Skywalker went to Geonosis to save Obi-Wan, but are captured. Whilst on this journey, the two fall in love but are sentenced to death alongside Obi-Wan. Before they can be killed, They are saved by the Jedi, who arrive in hundreds deep alongside the clone army. They fight directly with the droid army, and the Clone War has begun. Plagueis watched this whole debacle unfold from the shadows. He was particularly impressed with the development of Anakin and the level of fighting he showed during the battle. He could sense Anakin's passion and enjoyment of the battle, two traits a Jedi should not have. Plagueis laughed to himself. Anakin was too old for Jedi training and was beginning to show traits of the Sith. He was informed of Anakin's slaughter of the Tusken Raiders, and an unexplainable joy came over him. It seems Anakin has indirectly refused the Jedi teachings and embraced the emotions humans obsess over. This has all happened without Plagueis having to intervene. However, what shocked Plagueis the most was the love he sensed inside Anakin, the love for the Naboo senator, Padme Amidala. Plagueis grinned as he felt this. He's been battling with a way to turn Anakin to their side, and now he thinks he's found it. The Clone War is a complete success for Plagueis. The war only bathes the Senate and Jedi Order in the dark side and completely blinds them. Many citizens of the Republic begin to see the Jedi as enemies of peace and justice rather than the Guardians. They have exploited the Jedi's self-righteousness and blind obedience to the Republic. Plagueis was also extremely satisfied with Anakin's development over the 3 years of the Clone War, and his connection to the Force and lightsaber ability has increased exponentially. He is sure if he and Dooku fought, Anakin would emerge superior. The Clone War has only made Anakin more egotistical and ambitious. His love for Padme has led him to become greedy, jealous, and full of fear. Traits which can be malleable to pull someone down the dark path. Plagueis begins to plan for Padme's death. Plagueis decides to take the task on for himself. He attacks Padme's ship when she's coming back to Coruscant from Naboo. He boards the ship and ignites a green blade. He cuts down everyone on board and finishes with Padme. He leaves and the ship is found and brought back to Coruscant. An investigation is started and security footage is found which shows a hooded figure with a green lightsaber killing the Naboo senator. Dooku brings this directly to the Jedi Council and asks them to explain themselves, but they assure him it wasn't the order. Obi-Wan is saddened by the death of Padme and doesn't know what to tell Anakin. After the council meeting, Obi-Wan meets with Anakin and he breaks the bad news. Anakin falls to his knees in pain and feels total loss, but then he turns angry. He demands to see the recording of her death. Obi-Wan is hesitant at first, but knows nothing is going to stop him. He shows him the footage and Anakin's face twists with utter hatred when he sees the green lightsaber. Anakin is convinced the Jedi are somewhat involved in this. They have been holding him back, refused to share the secrets of the Force with him, and denied him a seat on the council. They've been jealous of him his whole life. Mace Windu walks into the room and asks what's going on, but Anakin chokes him with the Force and throws him across the room and storms out. Windu goes to chase him, but Obi-Wan stops him. He rushes to the hospital, where Padme is being kept, and kneels next to her. Anakin inadvertently puts his hand on her stomach, whilst looking upon her face and senses the residue of life. 2 life forms were present in her abdomen, but now passed. Anakin realizes what this means, which pushes him to an unthinkable despair. His wife was pregnant, with twins, and now they are all dead, nothing he can do. Anakin walks back to his apartment, with his hood over his face, his thoughts clouded by his wife and his hatred for the Jedi. Anakin pushes past a human male without realizing, who pushes Anakin back to the ground. The human is accompanied by a group and they begin to form around Anakin looking for a fight. Anakin's rage and hatred in this moment is incomprehensible, and Plagueis can sense it from across the planet. Anakin gets punched across the jaw and ignites his blue lightsaber to cut down every human in the group. A group of Republic officers make their way towards Anakin, but he's blinded by rage and hatred. He kills 12 clone officers and rushes back to his apartment. Luckily no one saw it was him, but it's only a matter of time before the Jedi realize who it was. Anakin has taken his first step down the dark path. He desires revenge against the Jedi who have taken everything from him. He travels to the Supreme Chancellor's office to seek advice from Count Dooku. Sitting next to Dooku is none other than Hugo Damask. Dooku tells Anakin he can speak freely in front of Hugo. Anakin takes a look towards Damask, who is staring intently at the young Jedi. Dooku obviously knows the situation regarding Anakin, but Anakin tells him he seeks advice from him because he also became disillusioned with the Jedi and left the Order. Dooku tells Anakin why he left, and that he found a new purpose in life and the Force. He wishes to rebuild the Republic from the ground up and embrace his emotions, but control them with the Force. Dooku explains to Anakin that he can sense the dark side within him and that he shouldn't fear it, but embrace it. Anakin asks Dooku how he feels about the Jedi, who looks towards Plagueis for permission, who nods. Anakin notes the weird exchange, but ignores it. Dooku tells Anakin that the Jedi blindly serve a failing Republic, and in order to rebuild, they must be removed entirely. Anakin's eyes go wide. He didn't expect this from the Supreme Chancellor, who's meant to be protecting the Republic. He asks how he plans to do this. Instead of Dooku answering him, this time Plagueis does.
We have placed inhibitor chips in the mind of the clones, and with the Supreme Chancellor's command, they will activate and execute the Jedi. We have been waiting for the right moment, and it seems to have arrived. Let me introduce myself, young one. I am Darth Plagueis, Dark Lord of the Sith, Master to Count Dooku.
Anakin simply stands there and doesn't know what to say.
Skywalker, you and I are not so different. I became disillusioned with the Jedi Order, just as you have. Many years ago, I decided the only way to fix the Republic was to destroy it and start anew. This includes your Jedi Order.
Anakin, help us. We can assure the death of the Jedi. It is the only way.
Anakin considers it for a moment. All the Jedi have done is take everything from him and leave him with nothing. He gets on one knee and pledges his loyalty to the Sith.
Execute Order 66.
And the three storm the Jedi Temple together with thousands of clones. They stick together and know the three of them cannot be defeated. They obliterate the initial resistance in the temple in mere minutes. No Jedi could oppose them. They absolutely obliterate the younglings in seconds, and none of them even see who killed them. Anakin's power in the dark side is growing. They finally reach where the Masters are being held up. As soon as Plagueis enters, he dashes at Obi-Wan at incredible speeds and kills the Jedi, before Anakin can mention any sort of resistance. The duel between the 3 Sith and 7 Masters is legendary. Count Dooku engages Mace Windu and unleashes all his past hatred towards him. The two battle intensely, but Windu emerges victorious and kicks Dooku to the ground and cuts him down. Meanwhile, Anakin and Plagueis kill the other 6 in succession. Anakin was shocked at how powerful Plagueis really was. His skill with a lightsaber exceeded anyone he has ever seen. He only becomes jealous of the power and seeks to gain it for himself. Mace is the last Jedi in the room, until Yoda rushes in with a face full of shock and horror. He ignites his lightsaber and engages Plagueis in a duel. Anakin darts towards Mace, whom he has hated for many years. This event will decide the fate of the galaxy. Plagueis has been preparing for a duel with Yoda for decades, and it is finally upon him. The joy he is feeling at this moment is immeasurable. Although Yoda is mighty strong and tied with Sidious in power, Plagueis is more powerful and a stronger duelist than Sidious, so overwhelms the Jedi Grandmaster and defeats him. At the same time, Anakin and Mace's duel is ferocious, and neither side is getting the upper hand. Mace goes to strike and take off Anakin's left arm, but Plagueis uses the Force on the Jedi who cannot block. He wriggles in pain and falls to the floor. Plagueis commands Anakin to finish it, killing the Jedi Master. All the Jedi in the temple were killed and thousands across the galaxy. There were survivors but less than 50. Hugo Damas, co-chancellor, holds an emergency Senate meeting. He explains the Jedi assassinated Count Dooku and made an attempt on his life. The only Jedi to protect him and not go along with their plot was Anakin Skywalker. He proclaims that in this time of uncertainty, he will take complete control of the Senate and transform the Republic into the first galactic empire. The Sith's victory is assured. Plagueis was more cunning and smarter than Sidious. The empire he would build would be strong and impenetrable. The remaining Jedi hunted down, and he and Anakin would explore the dark side to the fullest ability. Anakin's goal was to resurrect Padme, and after learning the secrets of immortality from Plagueis, he went to her grave on Naboo. He did everything he could. He used the full power of the dark side to try and command what little midichlorians were alive in her cells, but it couldn't be done. She had been dead for far too long. There was no chance of saving her. Anakin left her grave, a broken man, with nothing left but the dark side and an eternal life to live with his pain, suffering, and despair. He had closure with his search for revenge against the Jedi, but he had nothing to show from it. Plagueis, on the other hand, got everything he had ever wanted. The grand plan succeeded, and he gave a new meaning to the rule of two. He and Anakin knew the secrets of immortality, and it would be theirs to use alone. They would continue to rule the galaxy until the last star burns up. Thanks for watching, guys. Darth Plagueis was no doubt stronger than Sidious in almost every aspect except maybe his political ability. There is no doubt he would have been able to implement the grand plan and wipe out the Jedi Order. However, this would be at Anakin's expense, and the boy would lose everything in search for revenge against the Jedi Order for what he believed the Jedi did to Padme. Also, check out Cake Stop Motion, who did the fight between Plagueis and Palpatine, link in the description. Let me know your thoughts, leave me some more ideas in the comments, and I hope everyone had a great New Year's.